Hello, and welcome to Beam Me Out Language Paper 1, Question 4. As always, please make sure that you have your companion or your mental model booklet. We are going to be using the mental model for Language Paper 1, Question 4, so we'd recommend that you get that ready because we're going to be referring to it throughout the video. So, just a quick reminder about the question order. So it goes question 5, question 4, question 2, question 1, question 3. Now we recommend that you spend 30 minutes on question 4. It's worth 20 marks. So that's 25% of the total paper marks. We'd really like you to spend some time on this question. One of the biggest issues that lots of students face if they do the exam in the normal chronological question order is that by the time they've done question 1, 2, and 3, they don't have enough time for question 4. So we really would recommend that you approach question 4 as soon as you've finished your writing section. Now you'll see here that we have the page of our mental model booklet. It's 20 marks, so we spend 30 minutes on this question. And at the top in the left, you can see the question stem. So you'll always be given a statement and it will ask you to what extent do you agree? We've got a tips box, we've got an approach box, and we've got a sentence starters box. And we will tackle each of those separately throughout the video so you can see how to use this mental model. So I'm going to take my approach box, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to read through it and hopefully you're going to see how this might work. So, read the question and highlight the two parts of the statement. So if you remember from your English lessons, the way that the statements work is they're split up. So there's normally two things to talk about. Now it's really important to remind you that you can talk about either part of the statement. You don't have to cover both equally. They're just there to generate some response from you. So for this source, and if you remember, we're using the 2019 November paper for AQA Language Paper 1. So this is the source with the avalanche. So it says, focus this part of your answer on the second part of the source from line 28 to the end. So it's really important that you find that section and you put some kind of line or something that stops you from going any earlier. You must take quotes from the end of the source. Remember, if you go outside of those areas, you won't gain any marks for what you're writing, and that helps nobody. Our statement is, a student said, in this part of the story, where Zoe and Jake are caught in the avalanche, I can't believe Zoe is so slow to react to the warning signs, because in the end, the situation sounds really dangerous. To what extent do you agree? So, we're going to highlight, we've got Zoe is so slow to react to the warning signs, we've got the situation sounds really dangerous. So we've got two different ideas to talk about. We can talk about Zoe and how she reacts. We can talk about the fact that the situation sounds really dangerous. Once we've got our ideas, we need to read the extract and we need to find evidence. So at the most, 2 quotes per part of the source, so 4 in total. But if all else fails, just find 1 quote for each section and you can always come back and find more as you need to. Remember, this is about your point of view, so they have to support your point of view. Now, sometimes teachers might say, oh, you can disagree, or, you don't have to agree. We'd always recommend that you do agree, because this statement is designed for you to agree with it. There isn't a right or wrong here. You might say, oh, well, she's slow to react, but actually this is the reason why. So you might disagree in that way. But what we wouldn't recommend is you just completely disagree. That's not what this is about. So step 3, you're going to craft each paragraphs explaining your point of view and justifying the statement. So essentially what AQA are doing is they are giving you the thesis, they're giving you the ideas, and your job is to find the evidence and use the analysis to show that you're proving their point correct. Step 4 is to check you've referenced writers' methods and analyse the effects of writers' choices. And it's always worth remembering that for this question, you can use language or structure techniques. So the techniques you've learned for question 2 and question 3 can also be used in this section. So here's the parts of the extract that I'm going to be looking at. The rumble became louder. There was a pillar of what looked like grey smoke. And then we've got the second quote of that paragraph, it made her smile. Now, I do find this source quite entertaining because I cannot think of any situation where you would see a pillar of grey smoke and you would smile, but we can't judge. But we can certainly explore, well, we agree then, don't we, that this Zoe is very slow to react. We agree with that student, and we might zoom in on the keyword smile. We might look at the juxtaposition between the kind of grey smoke versus her smiling. We might look at the focus on her smiling. But we've got loads and loads of different things we can talk about with those two quotes. A little bit later on, we've got, again, two quotes here. The roaring cloud breaking behind her like a tsunami at sea. She too was punched off her feet and carried through the air. So we've got a really nice simile there, and I would always recommend, if you're really stuck, look for something straightforward like a simile. Pretty much every time there will be a simile for you to talk about, but don't just say there's a simile, take the time to unpick it. So if I think about the word tsunami, that is essentially a huge wave, a very dangerous and very powerful wave that can do some damage. It can, take down whole buildings. So it's showing us the power of this avalanche and how dangerous and worrying it is. We've got the idea that she was punched off her feet. So then we've got this kind of personification of nature punching Zoe. Yeah, potentially kind of not wanting her there on that mountain along with Jake. So there's loads and loads of stuff you can go for. Let's look at how we put it together then. So you have an overall point of view, but you might develop that as you go along. So we suggest you use PEACH. So P is point of view, E, evidence, A, analysis, and then the CH is choice. So essentially we're asking you to try and pick out two things per quote, two pieces of analysis per quote. Let's see what that looks like in practice. So I might start first of all with my point of view. I agree with the statement because Zoe clearly doesn't react to the quite obvious sense of danger with some very explicit warning signs. When the writer describes the fact that the rumble became louder and the fact it made her smile, this suggests she is completely oblivious to the fact that an avalanche is clearly happening in front of her. The choice of the sensory imagery of the verb rumble implies that there is a real sense of danger, as it would take something fairly large to create this. This creates a tone of frustration for the reader, as they will wonder why Zoe's only response to this is to smile, which feels like a bizarre response to this. So that is a very brief example. I would certainly go into even more detail. I would zoom in on more words. I would really take the time to unpick this as much as possible. But I'm just giving you a little example there of, if you like, the straightforward expectation. I know for lots of you, you will go into much more detail than this. And finally, here are our tips. So this is the evaluate question. You are using the extract as evidence to support your point of view. The statement is designed for you to agree or partially agree. Don't disagree for the sake of it. Your job is to prove the statement using evidence and analysis from the text. And remember, you can refer to language or structure techniques. As I said at the start, we'd really like you to spend 30 minutes on this question. This is the important one. This is going to make a significant difference in your grades. So we'd really recommend that you practice this, you try this. Remember, if there's anything you're not sure about, always have a chat with your English teacher. As ever, Thank you for joining us for Beam Me Out. Remember, all these videos are available wherever you found this current video, and we cover all of the language papers with them. So please take the time to have a look through. And again, anything you're not sure about, speak to one of the English team. Finally, good luck with whatever exam you're preparing for, whether it's your mock or your actual summer GCSE exams. We know you're going to do the best you possibly can. And remember, you are going to smash it.